This is Driftwood Diner. This is my cozy restaurant game that I've been working on for the past few months, and today it's getting one of its biggest updates to date. Although this cozy restaurant game is fun to play, it's still missing a lot of work. So that's why I'm happy to make this video, because we're going to be adding so much content to the game. So let's talk about a few of the things that my game actually needs and where we are today. So I have a few goals for Driftwood Diner. My first goal being to make a trailer. I've never actually made a trailer for a game before, and in order for me to release it on Steam and to start getting wishlist, I need to make a trailer to show off what the game is about. So that's my main objective for today, is to add enough content to the game to be able to make a trailer and show you guys exactly what is going on in my game. That means I have 3 things to cover. Starting off with the first one, it's going to be the kitchen aesthetics, exactly what the kitchen is going to look like. We have to get that prepped and trailer ready. The second one is going over all of the kitchen stations, what exactly is in the kitchen, what the player is going to be interacting with. I want all of my stations to look nice and fun to interact with. And finally, the third one is where you're getting all your food from. The boat is super important throughout all of the gameplay, so setting up everywhere of where you're going to get your food and how you're going to bring it back to the kitchen is super important for my trailer. So why don't we hop into this game dev and I can show you guys exactly what I've been up to. So for the first couple of days, I decided I needed to work on the character. I want the game to feel alive. I need there to be animations in the game, and I can't have everything just being still and dead. So that's exactly what I did. I made an idle animation for the character, and honestly, I'm very happy with it. This isn't exactly one of the 3 pillars that we talked about, but I think it is something that's actually more important than that, and it's the game feel. This is something that is related to the character, so it's going to feel really good when you're watching the character, even if he's just idle or doing something. I want the character to just be moving at all times if you're watching him in the trailer. So I think first and foremost, making the character entertaining to watch is crucial to the trailer and just the game in general. On top of that, for the first few days, I actually made a customer, I made some customer art, and I started working on the customer's logic and coding behind the scenes. Although I'm still not quite finished with that, and I'm gonna save that for a later date, so maybe we could talk about that later. So let's start talking about one of my 3 pillars, and it's what's happening inside of the kitchen. And as we all know, every kitchen is gonna need some good food. So that's exactly what I did. I started with making the end product of the kitchen. I worked on some more pizzas, some bread, and some coffee. I kind of want to focus this game on some more like natural foods, some light foods. I'm trying to make it so that it's fun to collect the resources, and I'm trying to make them more unique and not necessarily a standard menu that you might find somewhere else. Now, I know what you're saying. Pizza, bread, unique? Yeah, all right. Maybe they're not the most unique, but that's not my full menu. So stay tuned for the full menu. And now that I was getting my food situated, I was starting to feel a little bit more confident about where the game was going. But I ran into an issue. So pretty much most of our problems are coming down to the way that the kitchen is set up. I don't really have a door animation, and it feels terrible to watch the character walk in and out of the kitchen. So I'm gonna need to set up a door situation for the character to enter, exit, and I also gotta figure out some of the top walls so you're not seeing like the customers walking in and out of them. So over the next few days, that's exactly what I did. I ended up making a door animation that I'm very happy with, and it feels way better watching the character leave. And on top of that, as a bonus, I even started working on a coffee machine and adding more stations to the kitchen. And speaking of the coffee machine, I made this really cute coffee animation of the machine working and like pouring the coffee that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm actually super proud about this. I'm a huge coffee fanatic myself, and if you guys have ever worked in an espresso machine, I feel like you might be able to appreciate this just as much as I can. I was actually so proud of this that when I was done with it, I had to go make myself a coffee. But nevertheless, this leads me into my second problem. So this is more of a character's issue, and it's not exactly a problem to one of my 3 pillars, but it's how you're holding the food when you're actually running around the map with it. So for a spoiler alert, I don't actually stick with this, and I still don't have the issue fixed to this day, but I'm halfway in between fixing it, and I know exactly what I want to do, and I already know it's going to look 10 times better. But what I end up doing here is I kind of just position a fish in the player's hand, and I kind of leave it by his side so his hands are always at his side. But in the future, I am going to raise it up so the character's hands are always out and running around, and you're holding stuff in your hand while you're carrying it between stations. So we don't need to worry about that problem, and we can continue on to our second pillar. I want to talk about where we're actually going to get the food for my game. So I have a few kind of options in my mind right now. And the number one option is fishing. I mean, I feel like that's just an obvious choice for an otter, and on a boat, you're gonna be fishing, you're gonna be serving fish. I ended up making a nice little fishing animation. I'm actually super proud about it. I'm not the best at making fishing animations. I've tried to do a few of them in my past games, and I think I'm pretty happy with this one, but it could definitely use some more. I think fishing is going to be a key element and honestly a really fun mini game throughout the game. My idea for the fishing mechanic and the gathering mechanics is that they're not just you go there, you press a button, and you have something. I want it to be more of a mini game, more interactive, more giving the player kind of like a skill to learn, but not a very hard skill. That way, if you're better at the skill, it will let you have an advantage in catching more fish and giving you more time, while time will be your resource. But nevertheless, I also added a garden. That's right. And before we even get ahead of ourselves, I ended up turning this garden into a greenhouse. So my other idea is that instead of an engine room next to the kitchen, we're gonna put a greenhouse there. So that way the character can go there and harvest all of its vegetables and keep the greenhouse up to date with growing all sorts of fruits and vegetables for everything that you're gonna cook in the kitchen. And while that's super fun, I also added a rug because I thought the floors were starting to look too matchy throughout the entire game, and that's still an issue I have, but I have some ideas on how to figure that out, but we can save that for another video. And on top of that, I also added a fridge because I think fridges are super important, especially if you're going to be making coffee in your kitchen. So let's start with pillar number 1. What exactly does our kitchen look like? I mean, I think we are adding a lot to the kitchen, and it's getting into a way better spot than it was, and I'm honestly very happy with it. Happy enough that I would be able to mark this one off as complete. Going into pillar number 2 of all of our stations throughout our kitchen, I think I'm very happy with them as well. In fact, I would be willing to mark that off as complete. I know we're not done, and I added a lot more to the kitchen, but for right now, for what the trailer is, I'm happy with these things. Now, these pillars being completed doesn't mean that the game is done, as that's how they're going to go when the game ships. I have a lot left to add, but for the sake of the trailer and getting this game up on Steam, I think these 2 pillars are good enough. But that leaves me with my last pillar, and that's collecting all of the food. There's one more thing that I want to add to this video, and if you can't guess it, it's chickens. I love chickens, just straight up. I think they're great animals, so I wanted to make a chicken coop so you can go and harvest some eggs every single morning for some fresh breakfast. On top of adding the eggs in the coops, I decided to make a fence for like fencing them in, and I even added some movement so they can run around and just have fun within their coop. Honestly, the chickens are one of my favorite additions to the game, so let me know what you guys think about them. And with that, that marks off my 3rd pillar as complete. That means it's time for me to get working on that trailer. So let me know what you guys are most excited about in Driftwood Diner. I would love to hear you guys in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. It really means a lot to me. If you can like the video and subscribe if you can, it would mean the world to me in helping me chase my dream as becoming an indie dev. Peace.